Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, Maverick family. Hello, new viewers from all over the world. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Lots of stuff on tap for you tonight. We have a special guest coming up. Artist Peter Kenny will be here to talk about his realism in painting, and specifically a painting that he produced, a portrait of John F. Kennedy a number of years ago that the Kennedy Museum was hoping to get their hands on. We'll look at some of his other artwork as well. We'll get his thoughts on the presidential bid from RFK Jr. and other things. Also in the news tonight, Russia strikes back. Attacks in Odessa, obvious retaliation for the deadly attacks on that bridge in Crimea. All that going on, and NATO countries are preparing for the worst. They're revising their plans to deal with any possible nuclear conflict. Suing parents. Another bizarre neoliberal woke twist that is penetrating and distorting the fabric of reality. We'll explain, and I might even call my mom. Another whistleblower has come forward to talk about the Hunter Biden investigation and possible interference in the legal process there. A migrant, a Honduran migrant, accused of throwing a small child into the water, crossing the border into the United States. Inflation in Canada is now so bad that even the mainstream media is acknowledging that some people are leaving the country as a result. And that Senator Michael McDonald in Canada, back during the Freedom Convoy, we ran video of this senator, a conservative, who was walking down the street and then made a lot of off-the-cuff remarks that maybe were just a little too truthful. So as a result, now his remarks supporting the convoy, which got him into trouble before, have now got him into even more trouble. We'll touch on that story as well tonight. So stay with me. A lot of stuff to cover, a lot of ground to go over here tonight, but we'll get through it. And I think you'll find the show not just educational, but entertaining as well.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, and I'm back. So let's lead with the most important stuff, I guess, first, which would be the retaliation, Russia striking back because of that strike on that bridge in Crimea, which left 2 people dead and orphaned some children, including a young girl who was in the car at the time with her parents, also injured but survived. Now, Russia has retaliated with strikes in the port city of Odessa with missiles and drones. This happened overnight. In fact, there were some attacks very soon afterward. Our boots on the ground correspondent over there, Kevin Michelizzi, indicated through messaging to us here that the Russian attacks really began not just overnight, but the night before. And this, is really the second night of attacks. 6 people, I guess, injured in these attacks. And Russia has indicated that this is absolutely a direct response to that attack on the bridge. I think I have some footage here that I can share with you. Let me just crank this up for you. So yes, here's some footage. So drones, missiles. This was the situation in Odessa overnight. And as we said, it's I think this is a turning point. There's something about that attack on the bridge that the tone of the rhetoric has changed. I think maybe they've finally poked the bear, the Russian bear, so hard that we're going to see a much harsher response now across the board from Russia. And the tone has changed not only in Russia, but also here in the West. I noticed that some mainstream media reports have also shifted their tone. There was even a report on CNN where one of the pundits that they have on to opine on the war in Ukraine, indicated that the Ukrainian forces are having one heck of a time, and even used the word insurmountable to describe the wall of Russian force that the Ukrainians are running up against. And that is exactly what it is, because they have layers of armament in place in this conflict. The Russians do. And so as the Ukrainians try to attack the Russians, they have to get through multiple layers of Russian forces while they're being bombarded with up to 60,000 rounds, I guess, is the approximate number of munitions being fired at the Ukrainian forces every single day. That is honestly like hell on earth. And things have escalated again to the point. Well, before we even talk about the nuclear issue, which is what I was going to get into, should I think I mention again as well that as this drone and missile attack was unleashed on Odessa in response to that bridge being blown up, that grain deal still remains suspended, which means that grain that would have been coming out of Ukraine and other food products, agricultural products from Russia as well, but the grain's not going to move, and that will affect world grain prices. But the reason for that is honestly because the NATO countries and Ukraine really didn't honor their end of the bargain, which is not what the mainstream media in the West is telling you, because Russia was not being allowed to move a lot of its agricultural goods as well. And then the attack on the bridge, the second time they've attacked that bridge, I think it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. So Putin said, that's it. Grain deal's off. All we're hearing here in the West is that Putin gets up in the morning, he's super evil, and he just thinks up new ways to be cruel to people in developing countries. So he just cut off the food supply. But it's much more complex than that. Or at least, I don't even know if it is that complex, really. The reality is they had a deal. The NATO countries didn't seem to be living up to it. And so Putin said, that's enough of that. And as I say, the tone has certainly changed. So as all of that has been going on, NATO countries are looking at updating, they have been updating their plan to deal with any potential nuclear conflict. So even in Canada, the nuclear threat has prompted the government to update its emergency protocols. Worried about even over here in North America, possible fallout from any kind of a tactical nuclear exchange over in Europe, or the spread of radiation that might come from a nuclear conflict that might spread all the way across the ocean and affect things here in North America. So Ottawa is taking steps to update its protocol for advising Canadians, alerting people in the event of any kind of attack over there, and also update the protocol for advising or warning people that there could be a ballistic missile attack, an ICBM attack coming our way from over the North Pole, I guess. These plans that the United States, that Canada has had in place, some of these things I don't think have really been updated in a long time. A lot of them, I think, still kind of follow logic and thought processes from the Cold War era, and we've seen that the warning systems, the NORAD warning systems, are being upgraded. Both Canada and the U.S. investing large sums of money over the coming years to upgrade that system to warn of incoming ballistic missile attacks. It will take years to get that work done. And of course, the Russians already have hypersonic missiles that can get here in a matter of minutes. So the game has changed since the Cold War era. And Canada is not the only country now that is looking at updating its nuclear conflict protocols. It looks like just about every NATO country is getting involved in that. In fact, if you go back, you can go back over a year and you can find information on NATO countries doing just that. Here, let me find you an example. All the NATO countries examining this. My apologies, I did have this queued up for you. So much material to go over tonight. Yes, like right here. So if you go back to, this is from last October. So you go back quite a long time, last fall. And here's an example of the United Kingdom. UK likely already wargaming in response to potential Russian nuclear strike on Ukraine. The UK is likely already wargaming its response. Vladimir Putin made his clearest threat of nuclear warfare, it says here, during a national address in September, warning the West that Russia had various weapons of destruction and was not bluffing. You may recall our reports on that at the time. In fact, that was our headline the night that Vladimir Putin made that statement. And at the time, it raised real red flags here, a lot of concern. And the Western mainstream media propaganda machine has been, churning out a lot of information to try to make Ukraine look like the hero and Moscow look like the villain in all of this. But when Putin says that he's not bluffing, I think that you can kind of take that to the bank. The Russians he doesn't bluff. That's not I don't think that's their nature. That's not his nature. That's why I was so concerned about it back last October when that story came out and the UK wargaming out a possible nuclear conflict with Putin saying that. And we've heard similar rhetoric from the West threatening to use nuclear weapons. There are clearly, hawks within the Biden administration who think that a limited tactical nuclear exchange is not only possible, but maybe even to them desirable. And that is because they are insane. And I think that instead of the Canadian government worrying about fallout from Europe, they should probably be worried about an all-out nuclear exchange that would involve explosions, detonations right here in Canada and the US. Because once those things are fired off, I don't think there's any coming back. It'll probably, I don't think as Scott Ritter has pointed out, the Russians have a policy. Once the nukes start to fly, even tactical nukes, it appears that the Russian policy is to just launch it all. And that would mean that the war would come right home here on the home front in Canada and the United States. Take note, folks. Be prepared. A lot of people stocking up on potassium iodide pills. And government's also ordering ample supplies of them as part of their revised plans to deal with a possible nuclear conflict. All that going on tonight, still, in the wake of the Crimean bridge attack and now the response from Russia in Odessa, where that key port city has now suffered some infrastructure damage. And I think there is more to come. I don't think we've seen the end of it. That's 2 nights in a row, and I think there is more to come. Don't go away. Stay with me. I'll be right back. And I think I might call my mom, because the in thing these days, I guess, is to sue your parents. Yeah. Sue your parents.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so if you've been following the Hunter Biden legal stuff, you know that there was a whistleblower who came forward to talk about possible interference in the investigation into the probe of the Hunter Biden case. Well, now a second IRS, Internal Revenue Service whistleblower, has been identified. He identified himself as Joseph Ziegler, a 13-year award-winning veteran of the IRS. He is alleging that President Joe Biden's Justice Department politically interfered in the criminal probe of Hunter Biden. So Ziegler was previously using the alias Whistleblower X, and he's joined his superior, Supervisory Special Agent Gary Shapley, in testifying publicly before Congress. And during his testimony, he conveyed he is gay, a Democrat, married to a man. And, quote, he said today, "I'm a Democrat. In the last presidential election, I actually did not vote." That in a quote to CBS News today. He said, "I thought it would be irresponsible of me to do so because I didn't want to show bias one way or the other." House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer has provided Ziegler's background. He did that during today's committee hearings. In 2021, Ziegler alleges he drafted a memo recommending FBI prosecutors charge Hunter Biden with multiple felonies and misdemeanors. And then again, these are his words today. He said, in August of 2022, we had a phone call with all of the assigned prosecutors, and they had said that all 4 of them were recommending the approval of felony and misdemeanor tax charges. So it got that far. But we know that that didn't quite happen. Hunter Biden agreed back in June to plead guilty to 2 federal tax violation charges and 1 violation on a gun charge. And he's still set to appear in a Delaware federal court on the 26th of this month before Judge Mary Ellen Noreika. And Ziegler says that, what else do I have here for you? Says that the attorney for Delaware, David Weiss, told him FBI officials refused to bring the charges he recommended inside the DOJ. In other words, they were ready to lay charges, some of them, and then for whatever reason, they didn't go as far as they were saying or some of the agents were planning to go. So the question is, what the heck happened? And there are polls out there that show that over 60% of Americans believe Hunter Biden has received special treatment in his plea deal with Weiss. And this is a story that is still ongoing. Also on the legal front, Tamara Litch and Chris Barber back in court for pre-trial stuff. They were just appearing by video, I believe, today. It's not an actual trial at this point. And it's all pretrial stuff. So the lawyers are just hashing things out. I know there are some media reports today kind of, making hay with this, I guess. I'm not that jacked up about it. It's just pretrial posturing and preparation. The prosecution, the Crown, in these cases, of course, Tamara Litch and Chris Barber, leaders with the Freedom Convoy in court, they're going to trial because of the charges that were laid against them. But their lawyers need time to prepare their defense. Not all of the evidence from the Crown has been turned over to the defense yet, and the Crown is saying the defense is saying they need adequate time. So there's been another delay, and to give, I believe, another delay. It'll go into next month before the proceedings actually begin, and that's the long and the short of what happened today. Nothing to get too excited about. It'll all come out in the wash, as they say. And then there's this stuff. My friend Liz posted this on Facebook. It got my attention. This is just another example of how insane things have become in our world today. This is, neoliberal woke kids. What generation are we on? We went the millennials, and then it was the generation Y or generation Z. I don't even know. We're running out of letters now. What do? You just go back to A? In any event, we have young people today talking about suing their parents just because they were born. I watch this stuff and I have to wonder, are these people truly insane, or are they just messing with us? Anyway, watch this. It's hilarious and disturbing at the same time.
I sued my parents for having me without my permission. So my parents that I sued, they contributed to, conceiving me, and my mother that raised me, she gave birth to me. And that's why I sued them, because I did not consent to being here. Like, I was unaware that I was going to have to grow up and get a job to support myself. And I just didn't consent to that. They didn't try to contact me in any way before I was born to see if I actually wanted to be here. And that's why I sued them. Now, it's different. Like, I know I've said it's like unethical to have children before, but it's different when you adopt, because it's not my fault that they're here. I'm just trying to be a good person and like help them out. You know what I mean? So yeah, if you are pregnant right now, you need to hire a psychic medium and ask your child if they actually want to be here. But keep in mind, if they don't, you need to terminate. Otherwise, they will sue you, because I'm making that my life mission, to teach children to sue their parents so they don't have to work.
Yes, my parents did kick me out on my 18th birthday. They actually came into my room the day I turned 18. They had keys in their hands, and they were like, "These are yours to your new place. You cannot stay here. Get out." And I just wasn't expecting that. It's like, I thought I was going to get like a happy birthday or something, but they were just like, "We've done our job. Get out." So I go to my new house, and the one they bought me was only 1,200 square foot. The house I grew up in was like 4,500, and it had a home theater, in-ground pool, tennis court. It was like staying at a resort. And I just wasn't expecting that. And that's when I first started considering like suing them. And then later on, I was asking them, I was like, "Hey, look, you raised me in one lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you just kick me out. And I'm living in a 1,200 square foot home with like normal people, And they were like, "You got to learn some responsibility. If you want more, go get a job." And I was like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up to be here. And it was then that I decided, they don't want to help me. I'm just going to take them to court and make them help me. And that's what I did. yes, my parents did buy me a house, but that's not why I was upset. I was upset because the one they bought me was so small. Like at 18, they kicked me out, bought me this house, and it was only 1,200 square feet, whereas the one I grew up in was like 4,500, and it had all these nice like things in it, like a home theater and an in-ground pool and a tennis court, and I just, that's a big lifestyle shift. Now, if I were like a normal person, this 1,200 square foot house would have been fine, but I didn't grow up in like a normal lifestyle. I deserved more. And that's why I was upset, and that's why I took him to court. So, this is the thing. I never asked to be here. And since I didn't ask to be born, I shouldn't be forced to do anything. Right? Like, I didn't have the choice. I didn't have the choice to not be born.
A few months ago, I took my parents to court for having me without my permission, and I won. So the court ordered them to give me $5,000 a month to cover my basic living expenses. Well, they went and had that appealed. So now they don't have to give me any money, and I have to go get a job. And I'm realizing, like, I don't have any work experience or any higher education. Nowhere's paying me $5,000 a month. So how the hell am I supposed to be able to afford my bills? Like, what? Don't have children if you don't want to support them.
She just must be joking.
Yeah, exactly. She must be joking. Okay. All right. Here we go. Time to call my mom. Okay, hang on here. All right. I got to find my mom's phone number here. I don't know if this is journalism, but it is today. All right. Let's see if my mom answers the phone. Hopefully you guys can hear this. She doesn't know I'm calling, by the way. She might not make it to the phone right away. She usually calls me back.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I have to tell you, you're live on my show right now.
Really?
Yeah, you are. So be careful what you say. But I'm calling because this is a very important phone call.
Okay.
All right.
Your dad to talk?
No, I want to talk to you. I mean, this affects him too. But okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what the new in thing is these days?
No.
Kids sue their parents.
Are you going to sue us?
Well, I'm calling because it's a possibility. Do you know why the kids are suing their parents?
Why?
Because the parents went and had the kids without asking the kids permission first.
Oh my God.
So I figure I probably have a pretty strong case here because I don't recall you asking me for my permission to give birth to me.
That's right, I didn't.
So I'm just calling to ask permission of you. Would it be okay if I were to like sue you for doing that without my consent?
Go ahead, do what you want. I don't know if it'll do you much good, but you can try it.
Well, I thought, I want to get in on the ground floor of this thing. I want to get in while the getting's good.
Yeah, well, what would you get out of it?
I don't know. You don't have anything.
No, that's right. So would you give us anything?
I think the lawyers might make a few dollars.
That's right, but I don't think neither one of us would do much.
But that's the in thing now. So, we got to get with the trends. Yeah.
There you go. we got to get in on it, I guess.
Yeah. Can Dad hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah, he can hear that clear. So is it okay with him if I sue you? You want to go to court and do this thing? We can do it together. It'll be like a bonding thing, exercise.
You could sue me because we didn't ask your permission, but I could sue you because I wanted twins and all I got was one.
Well, you know what they say you're supposed to do?
What?
When you get prego, you're supposed to go to like a psychic. And you're supposed to have the psychic talk to your unborn child and then ask if they want to be born.
Oh my God.
And if they say no, you're supposed to put an end to it.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm thinking like how many unborn children out there, when they're talking to the psychic, would say, yeah, I don't think I want to be born. No, thanks.
Yeah, well, good luck to them. Oh.
Where does this all come from?
It's out. I don't know, Dad. It's 2023. This is just the stuff that goes on now out there. This is like a real thing.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Well, I'm afraid people don't have much to do. Because
apparently not.
If you sue us, you're not going to get a heck of a lot.
Well, that's true. But the downside is, and this is, I'm just calling too. I need to ask you this before I sue you.
Okay.
If I sue you for giving birth to me without my consent, will you then write me out of your will because you're upset with me?
You're darn right I would.
Well, then there's no upside to suing you, I guess.
Well, there you go. There you go. Isn't that something else? What next, eh?
Well, I think what next is probably Ryan and Elena suing me. Because, I have kids too, right? So it's going to come back full circle on me. And I didn't ask their permission.
That's right.
So,
be ready.
Started out as a gleam in my eye. And the next thing you know, I've got a lawsuit on my hands.
There you go.
Can't have any fun anymore. Which one do you think will sue me first, my daughter or my son?
Oh, probably your daughter.
I think you're right.
She was the first one, so she probably would.
Well, therein lies the precedent in the legal case, right there.
Yeah, because she's the first.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You know what they call that? They call that daddy issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, okay. I'll talk to you later. I don't know if I'll sue you or not, but if I do, thanks for the permission.
Okay, well, good luck.
I'll review my legal options and I'll have to get back to you.
Okay, well, good luck.
We'll wait till we hear from you later.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Hang on a second here. Let's see. Let's call my daughter. She probably won't pick up. She's probably mad at me for just whatever.
Hello?
Hi,
Hi.
it's your dad.
What's up?
You're on my show live right now, just to let you know.
Okay.
I need to ask you a question, but before I ask you the question, I need to fill you in on some information, one of the latest, newest trends out there, which is that kids are now suing their parents for giving birth to them without their consent.
I've heard absolutely zero proof of that.
Well, it's a thing, and I found a video about it, and some girl sued her parents and was awarded some sort of compensation. And so I guess what you're supposed to do, and I'm so sorry, Elena, although I shouldn't be admitting my guilt in this crime, I am sorry, nevertheless, that I didn't ask your permission prior to having you birthed. And I guess what I was supposed to do is go hire a psychic to communicate with you before you were born to see if you actually wanted to be born. Sorry about that. I'm not joking. It's a real thing. So now that this is the new trend, you wouldn't sue me, would you?
Well, no, this sounds like an illogical loop.
Yeah. I don't know if it would stand up in court anyway, because if you were to sue me, I could plead ignorance of the law in this case because there was no prior legal precedent set. And so even though normally ignorance of the law is no excuse, in this particular case, I would argue that it is an excuse because it wasn't ignorance of the law, because the law actually did not exist at the time, or at least the legal precedent for it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, once again, this all sounds like it's all just a snake eating its own tail. In terms of the logic behind it, I can't parse it. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these kids, and I just want to state clearly, and I should also make it very clear that these other kids who have sued their parents, or at least this one girl anyway, she was upset because she was living in basically some sort of a mansion, and then she had to go, her parents kicked her out, and she had to go live in a house with normal people and actually get a job to try to support herself. And she says that's not fair because then she had to like downgrade her lifestyle. And her parents kicked her out on her 18th birthday, and she had to go stay in this, I don't know, regular house. So you do acknowledge that I have on many occasions asked you when you're moving back home, right? Because I miss you.
You have asked me that, yeah.
Yeah. So when are you moving back home?
I mean, I don't have any plans to anytime soon. So my life would have to go a pretty different direction than I'm planning on it going for that to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess it would, with you getting married and everything in the fall, that would see this whole dream that I have of you moving back home is you're shattering it, Elena.
So sorry, I'm just I'm growing up even more than you wanted me to. I don't know what to tell you.
I kept telling you, stop it. Stop growing up. Not allowed to do that.
No,
and then you went and did it anyway.
I'm barely 30. I'm sorry about
How
that.
old are you now?
I'm like 20. I'm 28.
How did that happen? Oh. Oh, there's not even like a teen on the end of the number anymore, you know?
No.
Well, okay. What about Ryan? Do I need to worry about him?
Well, I mean, he's still living with your parents, so at least he's one step closer.
Yeah, although, yeah, I know. That's a little weird. It's not weird. It's actually good. I like that he's living there. But
no, not a bad thing. Just,
yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll let you go.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to talk more about your wedding stuff later, I guess we can do that. I'm not really up to speed on where you're at with all of that.
Oh, sure. I can update you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Love you. Thanks for not suing me. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. We have to be thorough and give all stakeholders in this story an opportunity to respond. Therefore, I must call my son. Let me see here. Here we go. See if he picks up the phone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
You're live on my show right now, just so you know. I just need to ask you something.
All right.
The newest thing is for kids to sue their parents for giving birth to them without their consent.
I guess I gotta get a lawyer.
See, I was worried. See, I've been worried all day about this, and I was worried that I thought it would be Elena, but I just talked to her and she said, no, not going to sue you. Don't think I'm going to do that. And I thought you would be the one who wasn't going to. And now you're telling me you're going to go get a damn lawyer. Like, a millisecond after I told you about this new trend.
Well, you taught me all I know about business, and that's business, buddy.
Well, I'm doomed now because I know that when it comes to these sorts of things, you're ruthless. You'll go right for the throat.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk to every lawyer near you and around me so that none of them can help you when you need the counters.
You are ruthless. You are just, oh my God, you have just ice water running through your veins, don't you?
That's the car business.
Oh my goodness. You are you even aware of this new trend of kids suing their parents?
Oh, no, not until now, but you busted that bubble for me, and now you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I guess what you're supposed to do, what I was supposed to have done was I was supposed to go get a psychic, have the psychic communicate with you before you were born to see if you actually wanted to get birthed.
I guess so.
But I didn't do that.
Yep. That's a day one Bush League move, buddy.
Okay, Ryan. You've disappointed me. Elena has exceeded my expectations. And although I have to say, I admire your spunk. And
well, I mean, like I said, I learned my business from you, so
I'm not like that. Anyway, okay, all right. Well, everything else okay?
Oh yeah, everything's solid.
Are you going to see your grandparents? Because by extension, they're residually responsible for your existence.
No, I don't think I'll sue them.
Oh, I knew it. You always did love them better.
There's a little less. I don't think I have as solid of a case against them. It's there's nothing written about that one right now. I've got a couple cases I can back mine off right now if I do the whole parent thing. But you never know. Maybe some other people will get wild with it and we could re-explore that option. But I doubt it.
All right. Well, it's pretty zany out there in the real world these days because everything has become a construct. Anything you want to be real, it becomes real to the point now where we've got this stuff going on in the courts. So pretty weird stuff anyway. But thanks for letting me know that you're probably going to sue me.
Oh yeah, no worries. Expect some papers and some guy to say you can serve.
Okay. Thank you. Love you. Talk to you later. Okay. Bye. There's my family. I'm doomed. He's a sharp one. See, I thought it'd be the other way around. But no, see, maybe my daughter in her adulthood, now that doesn't have the teens after the number and her age anymore. Now she's a little more mature. She's mellowing a little bit, and she's warming up to the idea of, maybe her dad isn't such a bad guy after all. Don't go away. I'll be right back. I think. Maybe.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Exile. The Knights of Malta. Maverick News. Join us. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, do you recognize that jaw and the ear? That's Senator Michael McDonald, Canada, during the Freedom Convoy. And this is just a brief clip of him when he was defending the truckers. We ran a much better video of this back at the time, but this is just a brief clip to remind you of what he said.
You know what I'm owed? Nothing. I'm owed nothing. This country gave me more than my father had and my grandparents, right? And I'm so sick of the entitlement in this country and this fucking city. Everybody around the city with their six-figure salaries and 20-hour weeks and their bullshit nonsense. A couple of people bigots and racists and everything else. This is so unfair to the country and so unfair to people. And I know it's unfair because I'm here.
Yeah.
I know it's not true. Right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for having the courage and the decency to come here.
Thanks, brother.
Right? You're not alone.
Thanks you.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you too, man.
He basically was just telling the truth. And he got into trouble for it. And there was a longer exchange. That was just the tail end of it. But that's what the senator was doing. He was telling the truth. Now, unfortunately, shortly after that, because of the heat that they brought down on him, he apologized. Yeah, it's true. He apologized for saying that stuff. Even went so far after calling his own wife in that exchange, in a little, in a section just a little bit earlier in the video that you didn't see there. He called his own wife a Karen. But yeah, he apologized because of the heat they brought down on him. And now the ethics commissioner is slapping him on the wrist again. He's in more hot water with the ethics commissioner, I guess, in Ottawa. These senators are not really elected. They're appointed in the Canadian system. And they're there as like a chamber of sober second thought, which is ironic considering that Michael McDonald said, and during his apology, that he had been drinking at the time of his comments and used that as a bit of a scapegoat at the time. But even after apologizing, just not good enough for the woke government and the woke bureaucracy still being reprimanded. So there's a story that emerged initially as a ray of hope, I think, for regular everyday Canadians who had a strong thirst for a return to freedom, and it deteriorated into the woke mob descending upon the person expressing truth to power, only to be crushed, forced to apologize, and that's still not enough, and now facing further reprimands and penalties from the establishment. So typically Canadian in 2023. You know what else is typical? In Toronto, Canada's most populous city, the municipality is now considering a ban on two-stroke engine machines like lawnmowers, leaf blowers, anything with a two-stroke gasoline-powered motor. You know what they want you to do instead? They want you to rent lawn care equipment, yard equipment, small engine equipment that would no longer be powered by gasoline engines. They want you to rent electric-powered equipment from a municipal repository or a low-emission equipment lending library. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes. 2023, things sure are different. They don't just want your car electrified, they want everything electrified. I don't know where they're going to get all the energy if they get all these cars online and if you replaced all the gasoline powered motor vehicles out there with electric cars and trucks and SUVs, everything became electric, we don't produce enough electricity, not even close, to satisfy the demand. Anyway, more mania. What else do we have for you? A judge has rejected Donald Trump's move to have Stormy Daniels' hush money case transferred to a federal court. So the judge in this case, Judge Alvin Hellerstein, has ruled today that, in his words, in his ruling, Trump has failed to show, he said, that the conduct charged by the indictment is for or relating to any act performed by or for the president under color of the official acts of a president. Trump has entered a plea of not guilty to the 34-count indictment, which charges him with falsifying business records in connection with the hush money payment, as they call it, which went to Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 presidential election. So they're saying that's like a violation. And he's facing these charges as a result. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg had argued that the hush payment had nothing to do with Trump's presidential duties. And Trump is arguing that the case belongs in the federal court because his attorney at the time, Michael Cohen, who made the payment to Daniels, I don't understand this part of the case. Let me just see if I can see from these notes what this means. In any event, this thing's not going to a federal court right now. I think that probably will hurt Trump in this particular case, but honestly, in the end, I just don't see it going anywhere. That's the bottom line. All of this, again, I think is just a bunch of noise. This is just lawfare, just designed to cast a negative light on Donald Trump, try to hurt him as he seeks re-election. But I don't think it's going to. And that's the bottom line on that. Also, this story here, this one about the crypto king. I don't know if you're aware of this, especially if you're in the US, but this is a really disturbing story. So here where I live in the province of Ontario of Canada, there was a young guy. His name was, well, he calls himself the Crypto King. His name is Aiden Petersky. And he got some people, when cryptocurrencies were climbing in value, to invest with him. And he called himself the Crypto King. And then the crypto market kind of tanked, lost a lot of value. He lost a lot of money, and he got kidnapped. He lost millions, apparently, when the crypto market crashed, and got into some real difficulty. So he said that the pivot point for him was when the crypto market started to tank 1 year after he took these investments in for people, and then he didn't tell them the truth. He tried to make the money back and lost even more. And he said, I should have been honest with everybody and told them that I lost a lot of money. But he didn't do that. He tried to recoup the losses, got himself dug in even deeper. This is a guy who, was flying around on a private jet. He was buying himself fancy cars like Lamborghinis. And apparently he owes something like $35 million to cryptocurrency and foreign exchange investors. And they've all been trying to get their money back. And so I guess the cops charged 4 different people. And one of the people charged, who claims to be innocent, had invested over 700 grand with this guy. And now we have video that has emerged of this young man, the Ontario Crypto King. And he appears to be all bruised and beaten and apologizing for what happened. So 4 suspects arrested, facing a long list of different charges. Who do we have here? Darren Akeem Pong, 24 years old, of Toronto. More than 20 different charges laid against him, including kidnapping, kidnapping for ransom, forcible confinement, aggravated assault, extortion, and theft of a motor vehicle. Also, Rakeem Henry, 24 years old, faces over 15 charges. 37-year-old Tyler Fast, charged with kidnapping, kidnapping for ransom, conspiracy to commit an indictable offense, and forcible confinement. Wow. Let me show you the video. Yeah, he does this. He does not look good in this video. And it's not clear if he was, being forced to say these things at the time that this video was shot. But this video was originally sent out to CBC News, now making the rounds on social media. Here, I'll show you what we have. Hang on here. Okay. He's not looking too healthy in this video, folks.
I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't want to or mean to ruin anybody's life.
CBC Toronto received this 12-minute edited video showing a beaten and bruised Aiden Platursky seemingly apologizing to investors and explaining what he claims happened to the millions they gave him. Platursky says he lost $45 million in a single month.
When the money was coming in, I was failing to tell people that I'd lost a lot of it, which caused me to use more leverage in the crypto market, which caused me to lose more and more and more, because I was trying to recoup my losses, which was not the right thing to do at all.
The 24-year-old boasted about his lavish lifestyle and caught the eye of investors, who gave him tens of millions to invest in cryptocurrency and foreign exchange. But last year, things started to unravel, and now authorities are trying to track down millions that are unaccounted for through bankruptcy proceedings.
I honestly feel very, very humiliated. I feel embarrassed.
Toronto police won't comment.
So anyway, that's enough of that. So the video originally sent to CBC. So they got the scoop on that. Now the video's out there on social media as well. And their report also kind of going viral. This video coming out sometime now after those charges laid in the case. Now, coming up in a little while, we have Peter Kenny, artist, who will join us. He's going to talk about a painting that he made a long time ago of John F. Kennedy. And I guess the museum in Dallas where Kennedy was shot, they were interested in obtaining this painting. And Peter's also going to talk to us about his thoughts on the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. presidential bid. And he'll also be speaking with us about some of his other artwork that he was at the time, I guess, for a time working for the Canadian military. And it's going to be an interesting conversation. just a little unusual. It's a different kind of interview, and I'm really looking forward to it because he has a wide range of different experiences that relate to his art, but also to current affairs, history, politics, and what he has been doing and what he has done in the past is connected in such a way that it's actually newsworthy today. So, looking forward to all of that. Don't go away, still have more ahead right after this.
Fear not the storm. For truth is on our side. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I don't know if a dragon is out there tonight. I haven't been looking in the chat enough. Hello, dragon, are you out there, my friend? I don't know. Some of you, I think, in the Maverick family are already aware the dragon is having a little bit of a run of bad luck. And he's kind of found himself out there without a place to stay. He's joined the ranks of the homeless, apparently. And so we've been having discussion. And I indicated he's not. Gina says he's not. He's not. Okay, so things have changed. So I don't know what the situation is. I haven't spoken to Dragon in 2 days. Dragon, are you there? I don't know if he's still watching or not. Looks like he was here earlier. So it looks like he's got a place. Anyway, I had talked to him about something that I had a plan to maybe help him and also do something productive over here. And Gina says that she spoke to him. I'm looking at her messages coming in. And so I don't know what his situation is. So I don't know. Let me check it out. I had an idea, and I was going to create a project the Dragon could contribute to, and I'll tell you what it is, and maybe he still needs some assistance. I've been thinking of doing a documentary on homelessness, the housing issue, and we may still do something like that. And I thought that if Dragon has indicated that he wants to get into journalism, and I thought he might want to contribute to the project, and we could maybe generate some funding to produce this documentary, and he could contribute to it. We get some other contributions. I could go out and shoot a bunch of stuff. I'd produce it all right here, produce this documentary. We'll see where it all goes. I'm not sure if it will work out or not. It depends on whether we have enough equipment, if Dragon's actually in a position to produce enough material. I can go shoot my stuff. I don't know if we'll have enough contributions or not. But if we can do something like that and we can get other people to contribute to it and we can kind of maybe get enough funding to put it together, then that could be a project. And in the course of doing that, it would give him some experience immediately, sort of kickstarting his journey into the land of journalism. And at the same time, maybe help him get back on his feet. So we'll see where that goes. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk to him. I'll try to get a hold of him, if not later tonight, then tomorrow sometime. And hopefully we can maybe make something happen. I'm not sure. That was my plan anyway. But don't want to get in the way of anything Dragon is doing. And I'm just glad to hear through Gina that he is already, I guess, stabilizing out there, which is a very good thing. So let me take another break, recoup after that little side trip down a side road on the Dragon Front. And I'll be right back right after this.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
It's just back to that senator again. The ethics commissioner said that McDonald violated the code of conduct. And I guess they found him guilty on 6 different violations, 6 sections of the code that governs Canadian senators. And they're saying that his words, his actions have left a significant impact on the institution, that being the Senate. I guess he was not as dignified as he was supposed to be and failed to exhibit reserve and restraint. I don't know. I can say that some other people seem to lack the ability to exercise restraint. Other people in positions of real power. And that had a direct impact in a significant way on the Canadian public, especially in terms of the way we were treated with rights being stripped away at the time, and the coercive nature of, the coercive way that the police were used to put an end, to crush the Freedom Convoy in the end by beating people in the streets. So that's where that's all ended up. He also, McDonald would not comply with an order to participate in the inquiry into his actions. So a report's going to come forward now, and we'll see what ends up happening to him in the end, what kind of penalty there will be. And I guarantee you there will be a penalty. So you see, folks, even though he apologized, it did him no good. You apologize to these people, and it's not going to help you. In fact, I think it weakens your position. You think they'll leave you alone after you apologize, but they don't. They keep coming for you. So don't apologize, I guess, is the lesson to be learned, because it just makes things even worse. So, the border crisis down there, along the Canada-Mexico, or the U.S.-Mexico border, rather, still a big problem. And this is just so disturbing because I guess there was a man from Honduras who was trying to get into the United States, and he was seen throwing a 1-year-old girl into a river, a Texas border river. Just unbelievable. So this was in the border town of Eagle Pass, Texas, and they saw, I guess, police there saw a migrant tossing a 1-year-old girl into the Rio Grande as he was crossing over from Mexico into the US. Police say they saw the child go completely underwater and her life was in danger. So they, I think they've arrested this guy. And here's the post from the authorities on Twitter talking about this. So this is from a Chris Olivares. He's a lieutenant. And he writes here, a Honduran man threw his child into Rio Grande. Troopers in Eagle Pass, Shelby Park arrested Miguel Ernesto Nunez Martinez, an illegal immigrant from Honduras, for criminal trespass and endangering a child, causing imminent danger. As per a probable cause affidavit, he says, quote, I observed a Hispanic male wearing all black with tattoos on his neck throw a child into the Rio Grande River. The child went under the water completely and was obviously in distress and in danger of drowning. Great work by our DPS personnel, hashtag Florida DPS and hashtag USVP, in rescuing the child. Nunez Martinez is jailed and faces felony state charges. There's a picture of him, of the suspect. Still entitled to due process, but observed, it was observation, eyewitness account from the authorities directly. So I don't know if the defendant will have much of a case in this case. And you know, a lot of people getting fed up with stuff going on the border, and a lot of Canadians getting fed up with the high cost of living. In fact, there are reports tonight that some people are so fed up they're actually leaving the country. So this report coming out today, just, you know, shortly after the Bank of Canada raising its key interest rate, which is going to make it more expensive to renew mortgages, make it more expensive to purchase cars, appliances, big ticket items, and more expensive to service the debt on your credit cards. Any kind of debt, the cost of money has increased. And so there are surveys out, I guess, that show that some people are so fed up they are actually leaving Canada because of the rising cost of living. So Statistics Canada shows there are more people immigrating into Canada than there are leaving, but of course there are. We know that because the Canadian government is still being very aggressive with its immigration policy, you know, keeping the border pretty wide open, trying to, they believe, stimulate the economy with, increasing immigration. And we have had record levels of immigration now for a number of years. Nevertheless, we are seeing that some people are getting fed up to the point where they are actually leaving the country. And even though yesterday the federal government was celebrating because there was some indication that the inflation rate in Canada has declined to somewhere around 2.5%, 2.8%, which is in line with what the normal goal is. The reality of the situation is, if you go to the grocery store year over year, this was by the quarter, that measurement, by the way, but if you look at things year over year, prices in many and a lot of things are up way more than 3% or even 5%. We were pushing 5% inflation officially. In reality, for a lot of things, over year, you're looking at like 20, 30%, 40, 50%. And a lot of things have even doubled at the grocery store. But not uncommon at all for me to see basics, just basic food items now a third, 30%, 50% more compared to 1 year ago today. It is insane, the pricing. I was just strolling through the hardware store yesterday, and I noticed that a can of spray paint, $18 plus tax. You have to get out a $20 bill. Not that long ago. I mean, I remember, I'm still stuck in the 80s, I know, but you know, $5 or $6 for a can of spray paint. You know, to me, I can stomach maybe $10, but 20 after tax for a can of spray paint. No wonder people are leaving. It's just becoming, it's getting to the point where it's almost impossible to live. Almost impossible to live. I've just got something I need to check here, possibly a story coming in. So again, bear with me. Going to take a quick break while I review this material to see if it's appropriate to put it on the air or not. And if it is, I'll bring it to you. If it isn't, then I won't. But I will be right back. So hang in there. More to come. What am I going to run? Which one? Which promo do you want to see? I don't know. How about crickets?
We are Mavericks. We say no to the Trudeau and Biden New World Order. And to bugs. Because bugs are creepy and gross. And people should not eat bugs. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Hey, no! The bugs!
Yeah, so I'm not going to run that, not until I get a little more context. So I won't even bother you with it at this point. I need to make sure we do the responsible, proper thing. So what shall we do? I'll tell you what we will do. We're going to go to the phones for just a brief period of time until our guest shows up here. Peter Kenny, artist, who's going to talk to us about his John F. Kennedy painting, his other artwork, and we'll have a discussion about politics. So stay with me. I'm going to get the phone lines cranked up. Be right back.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so working on getting that phone system up and running. It's almost there. I just need the screen to stabilize, and then we'll be on it. You can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. And we do need your help. Thank you to those who have donated in the past. And we can sure use your assistance right now. In fact, we have to recharge the phone system. And so that means we need another 500 smackers to put into it. That's how much it costs to run it, as we buy the time by the minute. And we do use the phone system quite a bit because that gives you a voice. And you can also donate at maverickdonations.com, maverickdonations.com. And please consider subscribing over on Rumble. That's the free speech platform, video platform that we prefer because we're not going to get kicked off there. And if you do subscribe on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification bell. We're running on one Facebook page tonight, one only, banned on all the others still, but we're on one. And I hope that we don't get kicked off that Facebook page. We'll see what happens. On a variety of platforms still, and we seem to have some forward momentum on some of these other platforms again, so that's good news. Glad to see that happening. And we're just about ready to go to our first caller here tonight. So let's bring up the screen and get it properly configured. And there we go. And here we go. And our first caller is Steve. How are you tonight, Steve?
Not too bad, Rick. Hope you're doing well.
I am. You too, I hope.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's not talk about me. I'm my least favorite subject, really. It's funny you had mentioned, I'm going to talk about McDonald there for a second, about Michael McDonald apologizing, because the first thing when you called one of your children there, I think it was your son, you apologized,
yes,
or your daughter, one or the other.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh, I think that's an admission of guilt, right?
That's right.
And you did it on.
That's exactly
and
right.
as soon as you said McDonald had apologized, I thought, yeah, they're just going to cream him anyway. There's no satisfying them, and he gave them an opening to come after him now because he admitted he was wrong, which he obviously wasn't. But
that's right.
Anyway, that's not exactly why I called. I
can hear an internal combustion 2-stroke engine in the background. Somebody is killing the planet, even as we speak, as they cut their lawn.
Maybe it's louder for you than me. Yeah, somebody's got a weed whacker out. He fired it up just as I was dialing your number.
Yeah. Well, we better get through this quick then. No, he's gone now. Oh. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
But you go. No, it's okay. You go ahead. I was just commenting.
No, that's kind of funny. I'll be very upset if we lose our 2 strokes. They already shut it off. Actually, I was just on my way to the door. Anyway, sorry. So I was checking earlier, just around dinner time, to see what your title was for this evening, and I was on Rumble, but I flipped over to YouTube just to see if there was anything of interest in their headlines or whatever. And True North. Now, I'm not very familiar with True North and their articles, but Andrew Lawton, somebody I'm also not familiar with, he had an interesting headline. So I clicked on it, and he was talking about our next election. And let's say Poilievre wins, but he gets a minority. Trudeau, I guess they're talking about this in Ottawa, about how Trudeau could still be prime minister, essentially, because they could just not cooperate.
Yep.
I was hoping you'd seen that, because I have a further question, because there was something I didn't understand that he said, and I can't ask him, so I called you instead.
Yeah.
But they were also saying that legally, in a situation like that, they might be able to keep Trudeau as prime minister, even if he used the word legitimate. He said it may not be legitimate, but it may be legal for them to do that. Now he's got a lawnmower started here. I'm going in the house.
Well, it's okay. It's not that loud, really. I just was commenting because I've been talking about the 2-stroke engine story earlier, so it just seemed relevant. But anyway.
I know that a lot more will get loud. So anyway, I'm inside. Anyway, so that's terrifying that, yeah, I mean, realistically, they could frustrate Polyev at every turn should he get a minority government if he wins. But furthermore, I just didn't understand how it was. Well, exactly. I'm kind of frustrated about the next election already. Either one of them wins, they're going in the same direction. I don't see hardly, they're just a shadow of each other. They're going in the same direction on every policy. So I'm really worried about our future. But it was the part where he said about, sorry, I wish I could remember. I wish it was a written article so I could quote it. About the part where he says that they might even be able to keep Trudeau as prime minister. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it sort of does, because if the NDP and the Liberals have enough seats combined between the two parties, they could create, and if I'm hearing everything you're saying correctly, they could form a coalition government, because they would say, no, we have more support collectively together. And because of the way the Canadian system works, they could say, we're going to work together. And even though the Canadian people elected a conservative minority, when you combine our two parties, we're going to work together and vote on all these issues together. And therefore, we actually want to form the government. They would go to the Governor General, and I think that they could technically put forth an argument which could be upheld, where they would form the government instead. They would then end up with the minority government instead of the Conservatives if they form a coalition government. And in fact, in a way, we have that now, because the NDP props up the Liberals on all these votes. They have an agreement in place, even though the Liberals have enough seats as they sit right now to actually form a minority. It's still difficult for them to get legislation through when the Conservatives vote all against it. So the NDP makes sure that they support it, because if any of those New Democrats, see, the way it works right now is the Liberals have a minority. That means they need at least some members of parliament from the other parties to vote with them on any given bill in order to get it passed. They have to get a certain number of Conservatives or New Democrats or Bloc members. They can't do it on their own. They have to get support from somewhere. And so the NDP has been saying, we'll just vote with you on everything. You just give us some of what we want, and we'll keep you propped up. When you come forward with a budget, which is an issue which could be treated as an issue that could result in a vote of non-confidence or a confidence vote, and if voted down, that could trigger an election. No, we're going to vote with you, even if we don't totally agree on it. You give us some of this stuff over here, and we'll support you. So they prop up the Liberals is what they're doing right now. But even if the Conservatives get a minority, they're in the same position. They need then to get at least a few Liberals or a few New Democrats, or however the numbers work out after the election, so that they can get anything that they propose passed. So they have to get some support from the other parties. But if you have the Liberals and the NDP gang up and form a coalition and say, no, we're just going to work like a bipartisan cooperative, and therefore we've essentially formed the government, we'll be the minority government, and we're just going to, you're going to end up with basically what you have right now, even though it isn't what Canadians technically voted for.
Right. So I understand all that. I did forget one little element, because if I understand what Lawton was saying, that they could actually keep Trudeau as prime minister. In your scenario, and as I understood it, Polyev would still be the prime minister, but they could frustrate him or outvote him. But he was also saying, and I can't remember if it was like the legislature, somebody could, technically our votes, whether it be the popular vote or not, could be overridden by a group inside our government to keep Prime Minister Trudeau.
Yeah, I'd have to look at all of that. That's a lot of legal stuff. and constitutional stuff.
Oh.
So I believe there are provisions in place, though, so that if you have, you see, what you have right now is you don't have a coalition government between the NDP and the Liberals. You have an agreement, right? Which could be
Right.
fractured at any time. But if they actually decide to form a coalition government because the Liberals don't have enough to form a minority on their own, they need the NDP, then they could form a coalition. And there is legal precedent for that, not just in Canada, but even over in the UK system as well, which of course the Canadian system is based on, right? So that is a possibility. And then Trudeau would be the prime minister with a Liberal NDP coalition.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. It was the part too where he said that it would be this group in the government that really holds like the voting for who's going to be the prime minister, and it can override the population. And that's where I got kind of confused. I wasn't familiar with that. And how this would work. So anyway, I was just hoping that.
I mean, you could argue that the will of the people is being ignored in that case, but I'm not so sure that it really is ignoring the will of the people, because if you look at the total numbers of seats, and you've got these two parties that are working together, they have similar goals and values and similar platforms, they still represent whatever portion of the population they represent. So everybody within the system still has representation within the House. It's just that technically the Liberals and NDP would be the government, and the prime minister would be still potentially Justin Trudeau. But, every member gets one vote is the way it works. And, the downside for Pierre Poilievre is that he doesn't get to take the trips. He doesn't get to do the international meetings and and doesn't get to stay in the official prime minister's residence and get the cottage and all the perks that come with being the prime minister, and doesn't get the paycheck, So those are the things that that's kind of why they want to form the government too. There is additional power. They have more influence. If Justin is still the prime minister, then he still gets to take the trips and represent the country and meet with the president of the United States and do all of those things, right? And set the tone and the direction of the country. So it's important.
Well, I couldn't detest Trudeau any more than I already do, but I mean, if it came down to it, I don't see enough of a difference, and I'd almost rather have Trudeau get back in there because he's already a known commodity. People don't like him. We know what we're getting, and eventually it would just all come tumbling down because, I mean, he's a disaster. I don't know. He's just a better looking version of Biden maybe, or something. I don't know. Or a younger version of Biden. I'm not going to say better looking. I think he's creepy looking myself, but anyway, I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to kind of get around this, when you've got the NDP sitting there and they're willing to, suck up to the Liberals, it's the tail wagging the dog. The only way around it is to elect a majority conservative government, or some other party get a majority, so that they can kind of go in there and just do what they want. When you have a majority, the other parties can vote against you all they want, but they don't have enough numbers. So, and I've heard so many people say over the years, a minority government is the best thing for the country. And I don't always agree. People think that a minority is better because you have sort of different political forces trying to hash things out, and you have compromise and agreements. But that's not what we have right now. We have really a lot of backroom deals going on that's just pushing everything so far left and so woke that the conservative side of the equation, it doesn't even come into play anymore, even though you don't have a majority Liberal or NDP or socialist government, even though, the progressive conservative party, it's pretty woke too, right? But the point is that you're not getting anything from that side now.
Yeah, I don't think there's a conservative value in Ottawa other than Maxime, perhaps. I'm beginning to ask myself a whole lot of questions. The whole system and everybody that's in politics. I mean, I try not to lose faith in it, but it's getting me frustrated to the point where I'm losing faith in it. And actually, oddly enough, I also clicked on Alex Jones today around the same time, and I was just skipping through to see what he was talking about. And he had mentioned about how they're trying to get rid of the Conservative Party down there, and they might, or the Republicans, sorry, and what that could mean, because it seems like and I remember this going back a few months, where they're trying to get rid of the Republicans completely, and they'd end up with one party. I have no understanding how that would work. I mean, not really in function, but anyway, he was talking about how he felt about something like ours, with more parties, and he said, so it's funny to me, because the way he's contemplating it, I hear Canadians all the time saying we should get a system like the US, but to hear an American saying, it wouldn't be so bad if we had a system like the Canadians. He didn't say Canadians, but like a parliamentary system. He was thinking he could make do with that. He didn't think it would be so bad. And it was just interesting to hear an American say that for once. But he did say, I think that what we have here in the States is the superior system and whatever. But again, I was fast forwarding through it because I was short for time, and I just wanted to see what he had to say today.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's ironic.
Anyway,
it's funny, because I see so many people here in Canada say that what we need is to change our system of government and make it a republic, just like they have in these states. And then I look down at what's going on in the United States, and I don't think they're any further ahead down there than we are here. For the most part, they have a lot of exactly the same problems. And in some respects, I think it's even worse. The lawfare and so on that is going on down there. I mean, it's insane. The political system in the States is broken too. So I don't see how changing our system into that is going to solve anything.
Yeah, especially at this point. How do they say it? Same, but different, or something?
Grass is always greener on the
they
other
have the
side.
same problems.
Same shit.
Yeah, a different degree of the same problems is how I see it for the most part. However, as much as I don't like their lawfare, it gets them out of a lot of jams, because the litigious nature of them brings them, some results where I don't see any results here. But maybe it's a money thing or a lobby group thing. I don't know what it is, but sometimes I see better results through their courts than I do here. And I'm just getting the feeling that we have way too many liberals as judges here. But then again, there's also great failures in their legal system. I've seen some catastrophes that were obvious catastrophes down there. So
yeah, I think
anyway,
that they have a better written constitution that does protect people's rights better than ours. That's for sure. But that's just language. That's not systemic so much. That's just stronger language in their constitution, and that's what I think personally we really could focus on to just cut straight to the chase, deal with our issue. It's like change that section 1 in the charter, and I think most of our problems go away. But
yeah, I think you're right there. I see what you're saying about that, and yeah. If our constitution was better written, you're right. And like I said before, maybe add a couple of things, but at the same time, how I feel about that. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, sir.
All right. I didn't mean to take so long on your.
No, great call.
All right, Rick. Good evening.
Thank you, Steve. A pleasure as always.
Bye-bye.
All right, let's get to our next caller. Okay, who do we have on the line here? Go ahead, you're on the air.
Hey, Rick, it's Rich from south of your border there. How are you this evening?
Well, I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a while since I called in.
Yeah, you want to talk
Been listening?
You want to talk about kids suing parents?
Man, it is a sad, sad day to think that a judge would sit in a chair and listen to that kind of crap. And to think about our society accepting some line of thinking like that, it's just, the look on your face at the end of you playing that video just said it all, man. It was just like, it's crazy. It really was. And, you know, I'm a little rough around the edges, I reckon, but, you know, I just, you know, I got a term that I say once in a while when I see stupidity. We're about the same age based on what I've heard you say in the past, but, you know, there's just not enough ass whoopings on these kids, seems like. You know, it's, they're not the insanity of, you know, suing your parents and the entitlement and all that. But the one girl literally said that, if I heard correctly, that her parents bought her a house.
Yeah.
But it was only 1,200 square feet. I mean, they bought her a house. They bought her a place to live. And there's just no thankfulness. You know, that's something that I think is lacking. Lacking in this world today is just thankfulness, man. You know, I'm thankful for the day. You know, sometimes I forget to be thankful, but I try to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There's a lot of mental illness out there, man.
Yeah. Well, I hope that if you decide to call a lawyer and sue your parents, that your daddy gets the belt out on you.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just appreciate you. Like I said, I don't want to take up a whole lot of time here with you. Just, you know, I always try to give you a little bit of encouragement whenever I'm calling. And I caught the show the other night after you had gone through your attacks and all that with the cyber stuff, or when you spoke of it. At least I'm sure it's going on all the time. But you know, after hearing that tonight, I just like, man, I gotta call him. So I'm standing in my garden, picking stuff out of my garden. It was a good show last night.
Good for you. There you go. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the call. We're going to move on and take a brief break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk to our guest of honor tonight. Thank you very much for the call.
Thank you for your time. Take care, man.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Okay, let me get this reconfigured here. That's got it. All right, like I say, we're going to pull out of this and take a brief break. And when we come back, Peter Kenny, artist extraordinaire, a master of realism, will join us on the flip side of this message.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back, and it's time to bring in our guest for tonight. Here he is. Hello, Mr. Kenny. How are you this evening?
Great.
Let me just get the right configuration on the screen. There we go. Now we can see a little bit better. Maybe I could get you to just move away from those windows. I've got a lot of light bleeding in from the back. That's much better. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sitting in my studio right now. So.
I see. Yeah, no, that's much, much better. And
so you got my voice? Is everything's okay?
Yes, everything's just A-okay. Just tilt down a little bit so we don't have quite so much headroom there. That's a little bit better. Now we can see most of you there, so that's much better. Thank you. I'm just checking here. I had some photos. There we go. I got to make sure that one. That's the one. I get these photos of your artwork that wanted to make sure we had lined up here. So there was one missing. Let me just make sure I've got it. And that's the photo of the John F. Kennedy painting that you did. Got to make sure I've got it. All right. Well, it's there. So I can show people. There we are. It's just not going to fill the screen the other way the others do. That's okay. So let's just kind of rewind here and explain to people exactly who you are. You're an artist and you've been painting for a very, very long time. And the first thing that piqued my interest when we first spoke was you told me that you had done this painting of John F. Kennedy many years ago. What was that about?
It happened when I was 13 years old, walking home from school. I think it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, our time. I'm talking about, I come from New Brunswick, so I was in New Brunswick area. So when I got home, the TV was on. Of course, it was beautiful black and white TV, 1963. And for the next 2 weeks, everybody was around this TV day and night. That's all we had in the news was JF Kennedy assassination. So then, excuse me, within the 2 weeks from the assassination, I sat down, I don't know where I got the ambition, to create a painting of John F. Kennedy. And it's sitting right behind me right now in front of the screen. It's 11 by 14 in oil. And I created it, and I've had it ever since. I've had it for 60 years, since 1963. And that was the beginning of my exposure to artwork, and my family never seen it, and they said, okay. So my parents enrolled me in art school when I was 15. The famous arts was online, okay? Like it's the, just a second here, I get to the actual, oops. Yeah, it's a famous art school where it was by correspondence, okay? And I sent it down to the States. And I did that for, I think, a year or 2 years. And one of the instructors, it was 12 of them totally in this. I got 3 big volumes here. One of them was Norman Rockwell. So I would be assigned every month on a project to design something, sketching and all this stuff. And they would evaluate it and make some critiques on it and how I can change things. So that's how it started. And then from there, I'm giving you a history of where I started. And in 1972, I was hired at the Department of National Defense as a technical illustrator. And as an apprentice, I guess you would want to use as an apprenticeship. So that's where I learned how to do airbrushing, photo retouching, and in those days, there was no computers, there was no Photoshop, there was no Illustrator. Everything had to be done by hand. So I worked for them for about 3 years. Then I went on to work for the RCMP as their head designer. Worked there for, I think it was 1973. It was their 100th anniversary. So I was involved in designing exhibits and so on. It was all across Canada.
So before we get too much deeper into your career, take me back. And so what was it that, what was it about the assassination of JFK that inspired you to paint his portrait?
Well, everybody at that time was talking about it. Like I said earlier, like it was on TV 24/7. Well, I'm exaggerating a bit, but it was on day and night sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And even the assassination that followed after that. So, I mean, I was 13 years old, so that's all everybody in my family was talking about it. This was terrible. It had a tremendous impact on our family because we had a lot of relatives that lived in the States, you know, and all over the place.
Yeah.
So I just sat down one night and started sketching it, and I painted it. And
here's the here's the
exactly
picture
yeah.
here. So you were 13.
13, actually. He was assassinated November 22nd. I turned 13 on December 19th. So I was probably 12 when I started it, but it was actually, I say 13th because I don't remember exactly when I completed it, but it was 2 weeks after the assassination.
And so the museum at Dealey Plaza in Dallas, I guess
Yes.
they've expressed some interest in possibly acquiring this, or you did at some point, but that has not yet come to pass. Tell me about that.
What happens that I was going to say, okay, living up here on right in Ottawa, Gatineau area, so there's not much demand for, you know, this type of artwork in Canada. So I was trying to get contact in the States. So in my research, I found out that the museum in Dallas, Texas, 6th floor museum, which is where supposedly the shooter from the window, that's where the museum is on that floor. They have the whole floor.
Yep, I've been there.
So I pardon?
I've been there.
Yeah.
To the museum, yeah.
So contacted the curator and I sent him a picture of the painting and told him the story that, you know, how I created that and the age I was when I did it. So then he started sending me emails and telephone calls and stuff like that. He was very interested in it, but I always wanted to say, okay, it's got to be worth something. And he was more or less ready to say, why don't you donate it to the museum?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, and then the other thing is that I had to sign a waiver that any profits they would gain from using that image on coffee cups, t-shirts, whatever, I don't know, I would not be entitled to any of it. So that's why I still have it. It was 2 years ago, I think, when I touched base with them. So this year is a big thing because it's the 60th anniversary. And so he was very, you know, that was quite, the other thing that the museum wanted to do, they wanted to record me, have a live video. They would have that exhibit in the museum so people could push a button, I guess, and get the whole story about how I created it and, you know, where I was from, the whole story.
Yep.
So it was quite a process. And
well, tell me about the process of painting the portrait. I mean, you were very young at the time.
Yeah.
Did you work from photographs, just from memory? How did it work?
I'm just going to mention that. I was trying to think, where did I get that image? Because we're talking black and white TV here. So I didn't get the image off the TV. I think it was off Time Magazine, was the front cover.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. I Googled it, JF Kennedy assassination, and guess what? There's the picture. The exact shirt, the exact tie, everything. The only thing in my painting, I don't have his chair that he was sitting in. I didn't paint the chair in the back. I just painted him. The flag, the whole thing.
Yep.
That's scary stuff, man. That's 60 years ago. And it was right there. Boom, I got it. So that's how I looked at it and sketched it and took my brush and oil painting the way I went. So I guess the rest is history. I went on to do all kinds of stuff after that from artwork.
So what photo was it that you worked from?
I don't know for
Life
sure,
magazine?
but it was on Google and the picture was right there. So I suspect it was Time Magazine. It was on the cover of Time Magazine or whatever, because there was no way that I had, sorry, I had my phone in my hand.
Okay.
So I was curious that I found it, the exact same image I have here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what did you think of JFK as a young man, a young teenager? What kind of impression or effect did he have on your life?
Well, on that part, I mean, being an age of 13, it was a big thing in our family because first, I think it was the first president being Catholic, president of the United States. The Kennedy family was very well known. And when I say that is because the relatives I had living in the States, we were communicating back and forth. So other than that, just the information I got from my parents and my aunt and uncle who lived in the States. And one of them was at home at the time. She was from Los Angeles, so she was visiting there at the time. So she was very, very keen knew a lot more about JF Kennedy. So that's what a lot of discussion that was going on around the family table during that week and a half or whatever time it lasted.
I see. So, I mean, you say you were a technical illustrator. In other words, the style that you work in is realism, maybe even hyper realism, right?
Yes. I'll give you an example. I was working on producing publications for national defense. To give you an example, they would have photographs of aircraft be dashed, with all the dials and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is that they would replace the dial. I would get that original artwork and I would airbrush and create the new dial that went in that location. Then they would take that image, that photograph image, scan it, and reproduce it in their technical manuals. That's just one area. The other area I was working on, let's say, aircraft or...
And when you say scan it, back then they would do that photographically, right?
Yes, well, printing. They would print manuals, the technical manuals from that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying digitize. It was the way that they photographed it.
With with lithography or offset printing.
Plates and then print it out on the technical information. The other thing will be like military ships. Anytime they put on new equipment on the ship, like radar, domes and stuff like that, we had to get the original photograph and airbrush the domes on the aircraft, whether it be a new gun or anything on board. Same thing, that would reproduce in their technical manuals for, so from there, then I went on to, years later, to air traffic control. I worked for them for years and Beach. So I was in charge of producing all their illustrations for the training manuals and did all the diagrams and arranged to have it all printed.
I see. And so you worked for the Department of Defense and your career progressed, and then you ended up doing a lot of automotive art as well, because, realism is, in demand in that end of things in the automotive industry and so on. So tell me how you got involved with painting cars.
I was involved in Porsches and Jaguars and all kinds of classic cars and stuff like this. And I have a lot of friends who were really involved in that stuff. So here's one of the paintings I did for the owner of Porsche dealership in Ottawa. That belonged to his father. It's a 1963 Mercedes that was completely restored. And that's 3 feet by 26 inches wide. It's all done in acrylic. That was a convertible, by the way, if you can tell the difference in the color.
Yeah.
And I did it, and that's in your boardroom still to this day. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I was there and it was there. Excuse me. I attended races and Mark Motors. I just mentioned the name, Mark Motors, the Porsche dealership.
Yep.
They raced 2 911 Porsches and they won the championship in 2018. The owner asked me if I could create a painting to mark the occasion of winning the championship, which I did. And that's in his boardroom today. So there it is there. And I've met the driver of the car. So all the lettering and that's all done by hand. The helmet is done by airbrush.
Yep.
And then I do the detail work afterwards. So I've done a lot of images like this. Most of them are private commissions. They would say, can you do this, can you do that? I've done some animals, self-portraits, So I was very fortunate. I really enjoyed it. I was lucky to get into this.
So my question now is, what are your thoughts on digital technology? How has that affected your career? I mean, you have Photoshop, you have all kinds of computer tools, digital tools, photography, scanning, different ways to duplicate things. Has that had a negative effect on you as an artist, or have you
No,
just used
no.
to use it?
I probably got one of the first Macintosh computers in the late 70s, I think maybe around 1980. And it was a little Macintosh SE. I think the screen was 6 inches by 6 inches, black and white. So I had to learn what this was all about, like typing and all kinds of layout, but the screen wasn't very big. So I always had to reduce it and enlarge it. So I accepted that, and it was a whole new field. It was a curve, but a lot of the stuff I did before I went on the computer, I would do hand sketches, like a billboard. They would come to me and I would do presentations on international level. I would do a pencil and a piece of paper, and I would show them, okay, this is my idea. What are the pointers you want to try to get across? So then I would make a storyboard, I guess is what you would call it, and then I would go to the computer and finish it off, which was a great thing, I mean, what normally would take me a day to do an illustration on the computer, I could do it in half an hour. If I don't like it, just push delete, start over. Whereas the way I started, you made a mistake, that means you had to start all over. Whether you spend 5 days working on it, the detail, you just got to drop the brush once and then it's done.
So what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence? We're seeing the strike in Hollywood, the actors, the writers, they're all very concerned about it. The production companies, the studios, they want to be able to use the technology. They don't want to pay royalties or fees to the actors for using their images and likeness. They want, to keep all the residuals from all of the work that would be made now and in perpetuity into the future. So the actors, the writers don't get really anything. The challenge, I think, for artists as well, moving into the future, might be that someone can just now type into a computer, make me a painting of JFK in the style of, and it'll spit out, instantly an image that, would take you days or maybe even weeks to create. And the average person might not be able to tell the difference between something computer generated and what you might do. Or what are your thoughts? Am I off base?
I've been keeping up with the most information I can get with this. Okay, I can go back to give you an example. Back in the 80s, the graphic design software that I use in the computers was called CorelDRAW. All right, that was the first version, and
Can I get you to just move away from that window again? It's
sorry.
causing
there we go.
Flare on your face. Yeah, thank you.
I don't know if I'm going to focus here or what, but
no, you're good. You're good.
Good.
Yep.
What happens is that I seen the advantage of computers in those days. Okay, like I said, if you made a mistake, didn't like the color, the background, whatever, you could delete it, change the shade, whatever. It's unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking of a whole different world with the AI potential. All right. 90% of my career in the art field was creating an illusion. Somebody would come up with an idea, I would make a suggestion, and then again, what is the point you're trying to get across? And I would create artwork to accomplish that success. I hear about the AI system. It's going to be very, very difficult for ordinary folks to, is that for real? Or is it, that's so scary what I've seen so far, where they can record your voice, they can take some pictures of whoever you're doing, change the background, change whatever they want. It's all done seamlessly. So that, other than that, I don't have that much information. It's fairly new right now, but I'm very interested in finding out what's possibility. Now, I'll give you another example. When I was using CorelDRAW, let's say if I scanned in some of my artwork, and I would just punch into the software and say, recreate this artwork in a watercolor atmosphere. Boom, I got it instantly. It would take that artwork I created and turn it into a watercolor or oil painting, whatever. And you can play with whatever you want to do. So that was kind of scary even back then. So imagine today, I'm very interested in finding out where this is going to go. Legally, it's going to be very difficult to take a video of a car accident with your camera and in the auto, those cam cars, to prove to court that this is what happened. Because anybody in the future will be able to change the image, the timing, whatever. So that's as much as I know about it. I'm not involved up front, but I'm looking at it. Oh, that's going to be interesting, for the future generation.
So as an artist, are you worried about
No.
this? No?
There's still people out there. Everybody, not everybody, sorry, it's a poor choice of words. Art collectors. They know the difference between art, digital art, which is fine. I mean, you can create some beautiful posters and, T-shirts and images and stuff like that. That's great. But to replace the real artist that picks up an airbrush or picks up a hand brush and creates something from nothing, from a sheet of paper, that takes, not everybody can create that. That's just why I'm looking at it right now. And I think probably the only thing I can think about it is that skill may disappear in the future. How can I say this? I had 10 graphic designers under my supervision, all working on Macintosh and Photoshop and Illustrator. Great work, designing covers and annual reports and stuff like that. We have a electrical shortage. Boom, the power shuts down. Not one of them can create anything. They don't sketch anything on paper or IDs. It's gone. Start over from scratch. So that's the sad part. The disadvantage in working in that environment. I'll give you another example. I would get a request to go into president of the company and wanted to create a new annual report for the business, one of my ideas. They could not sit down there with a piece of paper and say, okay, this is what I think, this is what we should do, and get their approval. Then you go off and do your stuff. But there's certainly a tremendous advantage of the AI. How far that's going to go is too early to tell from my point of view, but I'm very interested in it. I'll certainly be looking at it.
Yeah. So just to kind of go back to the JFK thing, now Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is running for president. I'm just curious on your thoughts there.
I also witnessed his father's assassination at that hotel. I think it happened in the kitchen or something. So he is, I'm quite impressed with what he has to speak about so far, about his thoughts and about our freedoms and, freedom of speech, whatever. I wish him all the luck. The Kennedy name goes a long ways in the Democrats. Excuse me. So it's still early in the stage, but so far he's been, from what I've witnessed in his speech, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I wish him the best.
Do you find inspiration from RFK Jr. in the way that you did, possibly from his father or from JFK?
Yeah, it brings back memories. Now it bubbles to the top. Like the painting of JF Kennedy has been in my secure lock room for years. Now that's come out to the surface, and so this is why I feel it important that somewheres I'm going to have to see if I can generate interest in it, and I keep very close information about Robert F. Kennedy. And what's new? This is a whole new generation. Well, for the younger generation.
Do you think he has a chance at securing the nomination, or are the odds stacked against him insurmountable?
Well, when you're in politics, this is early in the game because there's a different system that we have in Canada, of course. If he gets in, sorry, if he's selected as the runner of the actual
candidate, yeah.
Yeah, he has a good chance. Okay. I've heard, all kinds of stuff on the internet about Donald Trump. If he wins the nomination, he may be vice president. Like I don't know. So that's far fetched. Okay, that's Jacques Villeneuve when he won the world championship, and that's Schumacher that he tried to bump him off the track. So that's 4 feet by 30 inches wide, all done in acrylic.
That's big. That's a big
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent work.
Thank you.
So if people want to learn more about you, do you have a website, social media pages? Where can people find out more about your work, Peter?
No, I have nothing set up right now, other than my email address. If somebody contacts me from listening to this broadcast, I certainly deal with them. The way I've been working now with clients that contact me, I contact them, listen to what the project they're interested in me doing, whether or not I can do it, sure. And then I would give them some concepts. This is what I think I would like to do. And if they approve it, then I take it different stages. I have photographs of all the paintings I ever created, different stages, how I started, how I completed. So I get approval all along the way. So the next step is to go, whether it's Facebook or create my own web page with all my artwork I created that I have digital copies of. That would be my ideal way to go. Because right now in my studio, I'm prepared to work full time in my art, whether it's a client. I will not be working for 4 clients. When I get a client, I will complete that project before I go to the next one. That's the way I've always operated. I take care of the first client, the next one is on the waiting list. When that's done, we'll move on. So it's kind of it's really changed because now it's podcasts. You get exposure, worldwide in a lot of cases. So I really appreciate you doing this because this is the first time I'm a little nervous. But no, I mean, something that I've had a lot of comments over my career. Parents would come to me and go, "How did you get involved in this? How?" My kid, my daughter, my son is interested in artwork. So I had to sit down and explain to them. Most of it was by work experience and working as an apprenticeship. And well, actually, all of it. And show them an interest, encourage them. Now, of course, it's all computerized. I have a 2-year-old grandkid here that's just blows my mind. You give him an iPad and a cell phone, and he's in there and he's talking to Google and all kinds of stuff. Scary. So that's the different world. And I support that. So future, I don't know. I think it's going to be great, but it's going to affect a lot of people, everybody. Again, I said earlier how that's going to affect me as an artist. There's still a lot of interesting people that want to collect artwork that was done original artwork, not digital. There is a place for digital art. Don't get me wrong. There's tons of that going on, and you can't compete with that. But then you get the other side that are interested in the real art, like concept, create it, paint it, and it's one of a kind. So nobody else can copy it, reproduce it, or print it without your permission.
I got you. Well, listen, sir, here's one last photo.
Yeah.
That's before we wrap up. So, this is more automotive stuff, which I love, of course.
Yeah.
And so you've got my interest because you're painting automotive stuff and political stuff, both of which are of interest to me. And I know the political stuff is of particular interest to people in our audience tonight. I just want to thank you for stopping by and sharing your story and your work with us. And any final thoughts or anything you think we might have missed before we wrap up?
If anyone else wants to contact me, if you got my email address, I didn't put it on there.
Sure.
They could, and I could be more than happy to share whatever information, any questions they want to ask, or
Yeah.
request me to create something, whether it's animals.
Of course. Yeah.
Pardon?
Yes, of course. Yeah. If anyone wants to commission Peter to do some work, I'm sure he'd be appreciative.
Very.
It's PEKEN 4179. Let me just see if I can.
At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. I'll put it up on the screen for you.
Perfect.
If I can. There we go. I need to copy that and then I'll paste it in over here and do it as this thing. Just one moment, folks, and I've almost got it. Here we go. And that is how you can contact Peter. Peter Kenny, PEKEN 4179 at gmail.com.
Perfect.
Peter Kenny, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I really appreciate it. It was excellent.
I enjoyed it very much, and beautiful work. And you're a man who's kind of from the past, but still not afraid of the future. And there's a lot more to come on the digital front. And I kind of agree with you. I think that there's still going to be a place for original artwork, even in the new world of artificial intelligence.
Yes, there is. If I could just close, I guess as we're talking, I'm getting up ideas here. I'm not against it. I can see tremendous advantages. I mean, that's the way we're going. I got no choice. But I'm just concerned about losing the artwork, how I learned how to do it. Once you learn about perspective and lighting and shading and all this stuff put together, then you can move on to the AI group and use what you're taught and move it on. Now I'm looking back, if we're going to share this before we go, how I got involved in the artwork from the very beginning. At a very young age, I used to be a stutterer. Okay, like I had difficulty, speech problems. Like, as you know, anybody that has a handicap, whether it's a blind person, your hearing, it becomes multiplied, 50 times over. We take the advantage of that. In my case, because of my speech problems, I've obviously overcome that. I think it was 21 or 22. Since I couldn't speak, I became very visual. So I would see things that normal people take advantage of, don't notice it. So that, I think I give that credit to that.
Right. So what you want to do is you want to try and pass on the skills that you've learned.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Yeah.
I have nothing.
Peter, we're out of time, so we have to go.
Perfect.
But I really appreciate your time here tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, it's been a great interview.
We'll be in touch. Okay, bye.
We will. All right, take care. Peter Kenny, everybody, artist. And if you want to find out more or reach out to him, you can do that at PEKEN 4179 at gmail.com. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I'm back, and if you would like to join the conversation, I just put the link to enter the video studio in the chat. Oops, hang on just a second there. There it is, actually. So you can go to that URL. What I'm also going to do is go over to the website, update the main page. If you scroll down, there's a button you can click on that will instantly end up taking you to this studio so you can join the program and join the conversation live. So while I do that, I'll run another little transition, another little video here for you. It'll only take me a moment to do it. In the meantime, you can enter the studio by clicking on that link that I put in the chat, and we can continue the conversation here on the Maverick News Channel.
Maverick News. The world is watching. Fear not the storm, for truth is on our side. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I'm adding the link to the website as well. And we'll see how this goes tonight. If you'd like to join the conversation for the last part of this show, all you have to do actually is go to our website now at mavericknews.ca or mavericknewschannel.com. Scroll down and I can actually show you on the screen what to do. And this is going to be the case moving forward on our broadcasts each night. If we use this system, so you just go to the website, scroll down, mavericknews.ca or mavericknewschannel.com, scroll down, and you see there's the current thumbnail. And if you just click on that, Russia Strikes Back or click to join show, it takes you right into the studio. So it opens a separate window for the studio. So then it'll take you over to this. You get that. And then you would just scroll down. You can put your name in there if you want to, and then just click enter studio and I will let you in and you are on the show live with your webcam or your phone. Just click on the link. That's all you have to do. It'll activate the video camera for you. So that's one option for you tonight that you can use to join the conversation. And I will again put this in the comment section, and people, I guess, are going to have to get used to sort of doing it this way. So there's the link. And I'll put that on the screen again if you want to go that route. But it's really easy just to type in the URL mavericknews.ca or mavericknewschannel.com. And that scroll down and click. You don't have to type anything in. And you're good to go. And I will also add this in on the chat over on Rumble. There it is. Join the conversation. Clicking the link. And we'll see how that goes tonight. We've done it a few times. It seems to work for some folks. I'm not sure if people like it or not. You guys can tell me. I kind of like seeing people come on and use their webcams to join the conversation. And while we do that, I will fire up the phone lines as well, so that if you want to join by phone, you can do that. Hang on a second, and I will be right back. Here's the phone number to call. That's the wrong thing to fire. There we go.
Join the conversation. Call 1-833-975-3733. That's 1-833-975. Free. Speak up. Speak out. Make your voice heard. Maverick News. Fighting for freedom by defending your right to free speech. Be a Maverick. Join us.
Well, there's Note. Oh, there we are. Are you there, Note? Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm just fine. So what are you thinking?
Well, gosh, the kid thing. What the ever loving. I tuned in right around that time and I thought, what the, this is a joke, right?
Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm going to bring John in because he's called back here tonight. So
Okay.
let me get that connected. You keep talking here while I get this going on. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was we had a fire here where I'm at, and there was a whole bunch of planes and whatnot, but it got under control. I'm getting messages from people outside of Canada thinking that the entire country is on fire and we're all in the streets. I never watch mainstream media, so I don't know what they're telling people out there, but it must be utterly ridiculous for people to be messaging me and asking if I'm okay. And I'm like, well, the sky's really clear. There's a few fluffy clouds. It's kind of hot out, but that's it. So they think we're all choking on smoke right now in Canada, everywhere. I don't know what they're telling. If anyone's listening to the mainstream media, they certainly could tell me what they're telling them. But you know, we're not at this point in time. Do we know if we're getting correct and vital information in Canada now, let alone what's going out? Right?
Yeah, it's that's the way mainstream media works, though. You know, it's sensationalism.
Mm-hmm.
It always is, always has been.
Yeah.
But you see how it can just create the way the media works, it can create a mania for people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a prime example, because I was really taken aback. Like, why is everyone asking me if I'm okay? Like, what the, and they're like, the fire, Canada's on fire, it's burning. I'm like, it is?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I know. This that drove me crazy when I worked in mainstream media. But it's not just mainstream media; it's independents too. They do a lot of stuff just to get clicks. That's what people do, So you keep that in mind whenever I worked in media for so long. I know how the game is played, so I'm always just I take it all with a grain of salt. Let's you won't be able to hear him or talk to him directly, but I want to bring John in because he's been waiting in the wings and people miss John. He hasn't called in too much, but hello, John. How are you tonight? You're back.
Hey, hi, Rick. Yeah, I got cut off there. I wasn't hearing nothing, so I said, "Oh, the camera's kicking me off." Oh well.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you? Welcome back 2 nights in a row. That's great.
Trying to figure something out. Maybe you can help me out. I don't know.
Yeah.
The writer's strike. You know the writer's strike?
Yes.
There's like 200, 300 signs walking around. Who writes the signs if they're on strike?
I think maybe they're breaking their own labor, their own union rules by doing that.
I think so, eh?
Yeah, they're scabs on themselves.
AI, maybe? I don't know.
Oh.
I was trying to figure it out. I go, who the hell writes the signs if they're on strike? I watch these people walking around with these signs. I go, oh, he's like, trying to read the sayings on them and everything,
Do you think the public has any sympathy for these people on strike, or do you think people care if these Hollywood?
They're all well paid. Everybody's greed today.
Yeah.
Everybody's going on strike. Look at the boats in Vancouver. They're all well paid. They just want more money,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just looking at those potassium iodine pills.
Yep.
65 milligram is what you want. On Amazon, $8 for 120. I'm gonna order a couple bottles. You never know, eh?
You never
Save
know.
your thyroid anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you don't get incinerated, you can always pop some of those pills and maybe survive the apocalypse.
Well,
Oh.
it's the fallout we got to survive. The fallout.
That's right. Yeah.
But, I was the other night. Trudeau's getting booed at those Indigenous games.
Yes.
And I was searching around for paper. Everybody reported it except CFTO. They never. They showed them in the canoe, and they showed them talking, but no boo. They mentioned one thing about booze. That's the only channel. Is CFTO.
Which is a CTV channel, actually. Yeah.
I kind of felt sorry for him, up there being booed like that by 5,000 people. Just kidding. Just kidding, Rick. as the Italians say, he's a buffoon. Elon Musk, what did he call him? He called him a name too. Elon Musk, he called him a name. Yeah, he's funny.
Oh my.
I don't know. That loser should step down. Nobody wants to hear him anymore. That every time he comes on, I just turn the channel. I don't want to listen to him.
I hear you.
He should
his
keep his
Teflon
face
is worn
shaven
off.
too. He should keep his face shaven. I don't like him with the beard. He looked too much like Fido, with his beard.
Yeah.
So it's better with no beard.
Yeah,
I guess that's why you got rid of it.
Without the beard, he looks more boyish, and with the beard, he looks evil. So I don't know if either one suits him, but I'm used to the no beard Trudeau. It's kind of like that parallel universe episode of Star Trek when you've got like the evil crew and the good crew, and you've got the evil Spock and the good Spock, and and Kirk and McCoy and the landing parties and the transporter get, you know, switched into the alternate universe. Do you remember? They called it Mirror Mirror. Do you remember that episode?
Yeah, I've seen all the old Star Trek,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
I've
that's
seen them all.
so what
but,
we've got is two
yeah.
Justin Trudeaus. We've got the evil one and the little kid boyish one, right? And no, neither option is good.
Well, he's not going to call an election because he knows he's going to lose. But he was there. He donated a ton of money, and he still booed him, right?
Yes. Well, it's our money that he's donating. It's not even his.
My favorite sport on those games are the check cashing race. the check cashing race.
Yeah.
And then they ask for more. I don't know.
All the politicians show up at the Calgary Stampede, man, and the Indigenous Games. It's like all politics. Well, not all politics, but there's a lot of politics at these events. You know, it's supposed to be sports, but the politicians get their mugs on TV and they sit there and flip pancakes or, you know, just do whatever. But anyway, John, we better move on. I appreciate you calling in tonight. It's always.
Yeah. There's new Leo's listening. He's probably interested. Mike Tyson just started a new MA. It's called something fighter. Anyways, he started a new what was it? IP. Man. Oh, he can look it up himself, but it's a new martial art. It's going to take UFC probably a lot of their viewers out there, and they got this black guy from France. He's mean. I've been watching this guy in UFC for a long time. He's the best fighter in the world. I forget his name. Francis was his name. He probably knows. But check him out. IP. It's a new league. I was watching it the other day. That Francis guy's fighting in October. Anyways, I'm gonna check it out. And before I go,
yeah,
I told you this before on the show, and I'm sticking to my guns. HAARP. You heard of HAARP, right?
Yep.
That's what's going on right now with this climate. You know all this heat everywhere, like 120. Look at Italy and Europe and the Death Valley. I think HAARP is that's what's going on. They're causing this heat wave because they want to kill off all the old people. I'm call me whatever you want, but that's what I think is going on. So, anyways, I'll turn you back to your show and look into it. I'm telling you.
Okay, thank you, John.
Yeah.
I hope you're
all
wrong.
Right, have a good night.
I hope you're wrong. But I guess it's
no, I'm not wrong. I don't trust the WF. I don't trust those people there. They want to see us all dead. You know that.
I hear what you're saying.
They don't want us. Yeah. Too many people on this planet, and that's what they're doing. I think they're causing this heat wave. This is all man-made. This heat wave is all man-made. It's not climate change. Okay. That's all John? My 2 cents.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, hang on here. We're just going to get out of that. There we go. Okay, and we have Notes still here, and we've got Isabel joining us too. Hello, Isabel. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Rick. Hi, Note.
Hey, Isabel. I keep looking up, and that probably seems weird to you guys, but my TV screen is up there. So I probably look like a weirdo, but
yeah, and I keep looking at the green dot going, no, it's not there. I got to look over here.
So what was it that piqued your interest and got you to call in or click on the link tonight, Isabel?
You brought back memories, because I know, like we discussed before, my husband passed in 2012, and I have a son who's the middle child, so he's got a middle child syndrome. He's now 46, I believe. But back in the day when my husband passed, the first thing out of his mouth was, "So where's my money?" I'm like, "What money?" "I don't have any money." "Well, yeah, you got Dad's money." I said, "No, I got your father's CPP." He said, "Well, where's my share?" I'm like, "I don't know." "It's not here." But he threatened me at that time that he was going to sue me and take me to court. So I said, "Well, in that process, maybe you want to share the bills as well as pension, because it doesn't go to you." But he's always had that thought in his mind. Well, I didn't ask to be here, and I said, "So get a job."
Yeah.
I mean, if he links onto this suing your parent crap.
I was just going to say, Liz, look out. You might have to get yourself a lawyer.
Well, then I'll sue him for everything I spent on him. How's that?
There you go. Countersuit.
Countersuit.
I thought it was hilarious, honestly, when I saw that. And yet, it's just so typical in 2023. Look where we're at. It's bizarre.
And Trudeau is spending more money. Did you hear about the 1.7 trillion he's going to bill to Western Canada?
What's that?
What?
$1.7 trillion. Somebody sent me a message not too long ago.
Trillion for what?
Trillion. $1.7 trillion he's going to be charging to Western Canada, apparently.
I don't know any. That doesn't sound.
Why?
See, I shouldn't bring stuff up without having the articles.
Are you talking? There's a story about 1.7 billion to clean up orphan wells in Western Canada, in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia.
It's an ongoing investigation from Countersignal. So they didn't even share the whole thing, but they said $1.7 trillion that Trudeau's posturing to bill Western Canada for.
I have no idea what that's about.
Yeah, Countersignal. So I'm just gonna stay tuned to that and see what they have to say. There's just so much weirdness going on. I mean, Canada is just it is a train wreck, pardon the pun.
Every day it's something new, right?
Absolutely. It's like you get up in the morning, you hope for a simple day, that your garbage has been taken out, all the basics, and then what? Somebody's suing their parents because the poor kid is living in a 1,200 square foot house
that her parents bought.
That their parents bought, and and that your story of homelessness, Rick, will be very interesting, because I came drastically, painfully close to being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a year ago, and terrifying to be in that situation. I know now all the ins and outs, mostly outs, of the government systems that are apparently there to help people that find themselves in a emergency situation. Trust me, they're not there. There is no help. If I didn't get the help from a woman who actually found out that I was alone and in a terrible situation, from a church, she came and checked on me up on the hill where I was once a week, to make sure I was okay, and she would bring me food sometimes and whatever. Well, I was frantically trying to find a home. I even had to buy, a special carrier for my cat, because I was never going to let go of my cat. And so I was preparing to have a special carrier, and so I could carry him with me and be on the street with him. That's how dangerously close it was. I was terrified. The stress of all that affected my health even more. The systems, there's nothing. There is nothing there.
I just looked up what you were talking about
I
Western
knew you
Canada.
weren't listening
and
to me, sir.
I was listening too, but so what it is Kean Bexty from the Countersignal is saying that Trudeau's net zero plan will end up costing Alberta $1.7 trillion over what period of time, I don't know, but obviously if they aren't able to produce and export oil, which is where we're going, then obviously it's going to cost Alberta ultimately trillions of dollars. There's no question about that. If they shut down the entire oil industry, then that's where it goes. And in order to reach net zero, we pretty much have to do that. So I get it. And so Kean Bexty, journalist at the Countersignal, came across Stephen Guilbeault, who is the Environment and Climate Change Minister, and he asked him some pointed questions about, would he arrest the premiers of Saskatchewan and Alberta if they didn't comply and follow the orders of the federal government as it relates to the net zero plan, which is what all the Western governments are trying to implement, is a net zero policy, right?
Net zero plan, we need to reframe that as net zero scam. We all know this, right?
Yeah. So, that's what it is. It's not that he's so much going to bill the provinces 1.7 trillion, but he's suggesting that it would end up costing just that one province alone $1.7 trillion, because of course the oil industry would be shut down.
Yeah.
And we're all going to rely on electricity. And then when supposedly we get in this heat wave and we're told that we need to cut back on our AC, all these people that have their electric cars.
Yeah.
Oh, I
go nowhere.
I saw a huge Tesla station here. It's new, and there's at least a dozen chargers. I took pictures and everything. It's like shiny, sparkling new. And the weird thing about it is, it struck me, not that I know enough of, I only know electric cars is another scam, and the whole thing with it helping the environment scam. Anyway, but there was a sign there saying 1 hour parking. Doesn't it take longer to charge your Tesla battery longer than an hour?
No, it takes probably anywhere from 20 to 35 minutes to charge to 80% of the battery capacity.
Okay.
It takes a little longer for the last 20%, and I'm not sure why, what the science is behind that, but I know from test driving electric vehicles that the first 80%, you get to 80% in about probably about a half an hour. You see, you go get yourself a muffin or a beverage, and you by the time you come back, you've got enough to keep on going.
Well,
but that's only on a level 3 charger, which is like fast, right? And you pay for that.
Well, the location of it is also very strange. Not the fact that it's at a mall, because they want you to go in and buy a muffin and whatever while you wait for your car to charge.
Right.
But the location, it's not downtown. So if a car is losing power and you're trying to conserve as much power as you can to get to a station to charge it, these poor buggers have to, it's like downtown here is very, very flat. Easy peasy. You come off the highway, and if there's a station, they could glide in and they'd be okay. Guess where they're making them go?
Uphill.
Up hills, like insane amount of hills to the upper levels.
Is that right? So they're making them up to a parking garage?
Yeah. Now, like I said, I don't drive, but color me silly, but that just seems utterly ridiculous.
So if you run out of electricity, you can see where the charger is, but you can't get there.
No, you can't even see where it is. They've tucked it behind a big it's an abandoned building now.
It's going to be more abandoned soon.
I was so surprised to see this. It was just like, but you know, it is what I mean. Nothing makes sense. Like their common sense, like the people that are pushing all this stuff, their common sensibility is just bizarre to me. Anyways,
it's like living in a mixed up play. Nobody knows what the rules are, and the rules change every day. Every day. I'm like,
have either of you been in an electric vehicle or driven one at all?
I don't want to sit on top of the battery.
I would never want to be near one of those batteries, to be honest.
I have copper hair, so I'm conductive.
And I never learned how to drive, unfortunately. And if I could drive and I could get a car, it would be something that has gas and real simple, no fancy gadgets and gadgets and whatever. I just want to get to and fro. Nice and simple.
Well, we could all go by motorcycle because motorcycles aren't electric yet. Only the bikes are.
Actually, they do have electric motorcycles now.
They do. And not to forget, though, like winter here, like where they've located these Tesla chargers, they get 2 months more of winter than we do here downtown.
Well, they said they don't charge in the winter. So these aren't Canadian cars. Like,
I don't even know what to say, really. I mean, it makes
they do charge. I just don't. I think your range is a lot less when the batteries are cold. You know, and then you're using more energy because you need to heat the vehicle using the electricity. So there's that issue too.
Yeah.
But I haven't driven any of them in the winter. I've only ever had electric vehicles in the summer. So
I don't know.
I don't think I'd ever want to be faced with pushing one of those things in an emergency situation with that battery.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of heavy?
They're very, very heavy. Yeah. The batteries weigh out an awful lot. I got to tell you, I've got an old Volkswagen that I drive around. It's, my personal car, and it was not running right this week, but I went out and I fixed it all myself. The thing is worth, almost nothing. And I love that because it's just, to me, that's a way to be free. It's a cheap car. I'm not in debt for it. It gives me my mobility and it's easy to fix and it's gasoline. And, if you do the research, the kind of vehicle that produces the smallest carbon footprint, if you're concerned about that kind of thing, is exactly that. You get an old used car and you use it up until the very end, and that uses less energy, makes less pollution overall than buying a new electric vehicle because you're using the thing until the end of its life cycle.
Right.
Yeah. You're using it to the extent where it can't go anymore.
Yeah.
But we don't live in a society, and the society I look at is everything is disposable.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that to my kids, and I'm like, geez, washers and dryers used to last 20 years. You only bought a new one when you couldn't repair the one you had.
Yeah.
Right. And it didn't come with a motherboard where it said out of code.
Oh, good God.
Fixed it, right? But you say to them today, and they're like, oh, no, we'll just get a new one. Fix the one you got.
Yeah.
No.
Or you just get a rock and go to the river, for the love of God. I mean, we've gotten so out of control with convenience. Like this whole thing with convenience has gotten ridiculous, right?
It's crazy. And they don't have a self-reliance. Like this thing of suing your parents. Where's their ingenuity when, we were all roughly in the same age group, and you were always told, well, figure it out.
Yeah.
It wasn't a handout. Figure it out.
But you know what? What about the pressure on the electric grid? Our power completely went out in my building day before yesterday. Like our power was gone completely. There's the electric grid, right? We're not we're not set up to handle what all of this would imply if everybody did actually believe and trust our governments and go, oh, okay, I'm going to go buy an electric car. We'd be in big trouble.
Well, see,
Like-
SW says you can get cricket burgers at the charging stations.
Well, hold me back.
Yeah, okay, no thanks.
Oh, I'm on the
So what you
sixth
feed
floor.
lizards?
I'm on the 6th floor and my cat is catching crickets on my deck. Like I'm in a concrete jungle. These crickets, like they can fly to the 6th floor. What the hell? Like,
You sure they're crickets? Then they're not locusts?
well, they could be locusts because the way everything's going, like it could be. Who knows? My cat.
I was on the
loves
8th floor
catching
and
them.
I had stuff like that. I don't want an apartment building anymore.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is that this whole CO2 business too, like, you know, being somebody that loved gardening and stuff, we need the CO2 to grow our stuff. And greenhouses everywhere, they're buying machines to generate more CO2 so that they get more lush crops and everything. Like this whole thing, it just makes my mind go.
Well, isn't that what they said? I mean, if we breathe out CO2, carbon,
Yeah.
the tree breathes it in and the plants breathe it in and they give us oxygen. So they want to do away with that. So they want to kill the trees and they want to kill us. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty, like, you don't even have to be a scientist to understand the basics of this, right? It's just like,
Yeah. I mean, you take the plant away from the sun, the plant's going to die.
Well, yeah.
You can feed it water as much as you want, but without the sun.
And the
it's
myth
gonna die.
about us getting cancer from the sun and everything. Have you been reading it? I've been reading articles about what's in those sunscreens they've been getting us to slather ourselves with.
Yeah, that
Right.
and the sanitizer.
So I'm going to be heading out to go see a friend of mine. She's from Vancouver and she used to do backup vocals for me actually, but she's doing a show here at our Music in the Park, and she does a tribute band for Fleetwood Mac tribute band and a Dixie Chick tribute band. And so she's going to be playing for a couple hours and I'm going to be heading out there. And it's amazing. Like our weather here, like people keep thinking like, oh, you can do that kind of stuff out there. I don't know. I wish I knew. I should probably watch mainstream media to find out what they're saying about us, because they're making us sound like we're living in caves and throwing rocks at each other or something. I don't know.
Igloos. We live in igloos up here.
Right?
And we
Like,
ride skidoos all year. My husband used to drive for the London Transit, and he would get people that would come up from the States and they're going, wow, this isn't what we expected. And they're kind of like this dazed look. And he'd say, well, what did you expect?
Yeah.
Well, you're in Canada, so you're north. We expected igloos and
we're chewing on fat. Like
he's like, no, we actually have houses and cars and roads here. And we have no snow in summertime.
Yeah. I came across that last night. I went down to see the CCR tribute in the park for a little bit, and there was a couple I ran across from Texas, and they were just an adorable couple, and we wound up striking up a conversation, and they were looking around as though like, I don't know what 100%, because I didn't want to insult them or anything, so I was very careful with choosing my words, but they must have obviously expected us very little people to be around, because they were like, oh my God, look at all the people here. I'm like, yeah, there's music playing. And they're like, but we were told that they were probably not expect very much.
John Johnson says electric cars are so fast they get disqualified for going too fast to drag tracks. Yeah, they are fast. They're fast off the mark. Yeah. They accelerate almost instantly. That is one thing about them, but I still prefer my gasoline powered cars.
Well, yeah, because like you don't have to park for however long to charge, and you don't have the worry of it blowing up spontaneously, randomly while you're in it.
I shouldn't laugh, but yeah.
Somebody posted on a video the guy was stuck inside his electric car when it caught fire because everything shut down. He couldn't get out.
Exactly. Like this is like such madness. I've seen articles from the 1800s where they tried this electric car BS before, and I saw them have these big, thick, heavy cords attached to buses at these big buildings, and I mean, they've tried this crap over and over. And honestly, what it comes down to, it's so that the governments can line their pockets and fleece ours. It's that simple. I mean,
Yeah, not just the governments, but the the big companies as well, right? Because I mean, look at what the incentive is. They're retooling every automotive facility. It's a complete revamp of an industry from the ground up almost.
And we're going to be very sorry for that. And those old buggers that are tooling around in their big old pickup trucks with gas cans in the back, they're going to be driving by, laughing and waving.
The thing is, though, I have to tell you, it has become inevitable. And here's the thing, I do an automotive show, right?
Right.
So I have test vehicles coming starting next week, and
Oh,
every single vehicle in the lineup coming to me this year is electric. Every single one. Not one gasoline powered vehicle so far. Maybe some later, but right now, all of them that they've offered up are electric. It's inevitable.
Do you have a test flying car? I've been hearing stories of flying cars actually being approved now.
No, they haven't offered one of those, and it's probably a good thing because I do not want to die.
Yeah, me either.
No, really?
Me either. I like my feet on terra firma. Thank you. I mean, it's really a joke. If they were going to be so strong on this, you think that they themselves, Trudeau, would be driving electric vehicles? His SUVs are gas guzzlers.
And you mean all 42 or so of them?
Yeah. Let's see him fly in an electric jet and drive an electric car.
400 bottles of wine on Trudeau's plane.
Well, then 10 of those are mine.
I was gonna say I need a refill.
I complain. He gave us, what did he say? My friend said, but look, he gave you $237. I said, for what?
Well, hold me back. How far is that going to go when you go get your groceries? Like, that's supposed to compensate us for all the money they took away from us that would have fed us for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that $200 and some odd is going to feed us for a week.
Well, you go put gas in your car because I go to the reserve. So I go put gas in my car. That's $60 for a Sentra.
Right.
So there's $60. So now I'm left with $100 and some. So if I go to the grocery store, the milk is $7 for 4 liters.
$10
my butter is $8. You're lucky if you can make a sandwich by the time you come out of the grocery store.
Exactly. But Freeland and Trudeau are so darn proud of themselves, aren't they, though?
Oh,
they're so smug and proud about we've doled out this many millions of dollars we've given back. Who's paying for the $400 of 400 bottles of wine on his plane and all his grocery bills? Like last time I heard any Canadian out there working their jobs and stuff, we pay for everything out of our paycheck. But somehow, and I love to know how, this government not only gets an incredible salary, and they can give themselves raises too, but on top
and have
of
2
that,
months off.
They bill us. They don't pay out of their paychecks their hotels, their food, their grocery bills. What else is like none of this makes sense to me. right? How did that come to be? Why, like with their salaries, they should be buying their own groceries, you know, and all the stuff that we have to pay for out of our paychecks, they should be doing too, but that's not what's happening.
No,
right?
it's tax. And I hear people saying, oh, I can hardly wait till I retire and I get my pension.
Whoa.
So like, why? Like retiring is good. Your pension is shit.
Yeah. Retiring is good if you can afford to buy a house in Costa Rica somewhere, not Canada.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, it's after 9, so it's about time for us to wrap up. I'll just get some final thoughts from both of you.
Go ahead. No.
Oh, sure. Well, I just want to, tell everyone to hang in there. Hi to all the Mavericks. Welcome back, John. It's good to have you back. And I'm going to go out and enjoy some live music for an hour or two. I'm going to talk to my friend. We haven't seen each other in 15 years. Last time we got together was in Vancouver. And so after her show, we're going to go for a few drinks and catch up on the music biz. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to wish everyone an awesome evening. And thanks again, Rick, for a nice night.
No.
Yeah.
Over to you, Isabel.
Well, I'm just going to keep my head above water and stay far away from my son.
and get a lawyer in the queue.
Well, I try to work out of my home by doing crafts. And if he caught wind of that, he's going to want his share of that too.
He'll want the percentage, right?
Yeah, okay. And I want to thank you, Rick. This is something new for me. It's only my second time I'm on here, but I appreciate everything you do. At least you keep us out of the rabbit hole.
Well,
And
yeah, it's hard to tell the difference these days because truth is stranger than the fiction.
I can't say he keeps me out of the rabbit hole, but
yeah,
I try.
I'm a sucker for punishment.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult time. But listen, guys, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate what you guys do too, and having you contribute just by joining the show this way in the video chat. This is fantastic. So it gives
fun.
everybody a voice and other perspectives on things.
It's fun.
So yeah, and John took us down a rabbit hole today. So thank you, John, for doing that.
I agree with John,
Harp.
by the way. Shout out to John. I'm behind you on the whole heart thing. I've been doing my research on that. That was a rabbit hole I went through, and I got all kinds of evidence about that. So the heart thing is real, John. I'm with you. High five. Sorry, Rick. High fiving John on that.
Okay, well, we're all doomed, and I'll be back tomorrow
we're doomed.
with another daily dose of doom and gloom. Thank you, guys.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Rick.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Signing off with them, and I'll wrap up over here and try to stay optimistic, even as your brain waves are altered with the environmental changes that come from the giant HARP waves that are going on out there to change the weather patterns, the jet stream, and kill us all until we're dead and not alive anymore. We will be back tomorrow evening. And of that, I am sure. Regardless of what is going on, I am certain that tomorrow the sun will rise and we will be doing another program. Probably going to have a special guest on tomorrow night. It's probably a show you're not going to want to miss, but I have to confirm, still have not confirmed the interview. So I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get caught making a promise that I can't keep. But it should be a great show. And RFK Jr. is scheduled to testify tomorrow at a subcommittee into censorship. And his own party, I guess, tried to get him blocked from testifying tomorrow morning. So we'll try to have some information on that through the day and again tomorrow night as well. All that and a whole lot more coming up tomorrow here on the Maverick News Channel. Thank you, everybody. Catch you all on the flip side.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.